Good morning, property managers. Just another note from me to kind of keep us focused on the things that are important as we enter into this holiday. Now, first and foremost, the holiday is going to be great, and I want you to relax a little bit, enjoy your time with your family and friends, kind of get off your feet a little bit. Hopefully, you don't get too much sunburn, don't drink too much, don't get too crazy. Everything in moderation. But after that, when we come back from the holiday, I really need you to focus right back in on collections. I'm going to talk to you about collections again today, and hopefully by the time we get back from the holiday, I'll have all the tabulated numbers on how we performed in June. Some of you report back to me that you're pretty pleased with the progress you made. I'm anxious to see where we measure up first last month, and where we ended up last month was 2.11 outstanding. So we're going to measure against that and see where we wanted to be. You might remember that I predicted that we needed to be under 2 million. And I think some of the progress you guys have made should get us there, but I'm only hopeful. It's early yet, and Michelle Davis and others are tabulating the numbers for me. But I want to talk about collections from really as I go through the age delinquency. I want you to understand something that I'm seeing across the board. And if I can go through and critically identify or label each of the type of collection issues we have, they kind of fall under two or three main categories. But the one that's most glaring is the communication category. It's a communication problem. You have a tenant who's paying, they're either paying the wrong amount, or they haven't paid that small balance, or they have a big credit or a small credit. What's happened is you haven't communicated. 60%, yes, 60% of our problems fall under communication issues. Okay? Now they fall into categories underneath communication issues on things like, did you have the right person? Are you communicating with the right person? Are you communicating with them at the right time? In other words, some of us have been doing this for a long time. We know that we don't call a restaurant, between 10:30 and probably 2:30 in the afternoon. That's their heyday. That's when they have to make money to be able to pay the rent. So don't make a collection call during that period of time. When you make the collection call, do you have the right information? Now, in other words, do you have their ledger? Do you have their lease? Do you need to prove to them that they have to pay their recon within 30 days? Do you have to tell them they don't have the right to audit? In other words, do you have the information to handle the things that they may come up as objections? I think if you prepare for those a little better, that what I call a collection call. Now realize a collection call can be face-to-face, can be an email, can be an actual call. But why not give them the information? Because you should come from a power position and not from a position of, I'll have to get back to you. Now getting back is okay. Follow-up is something that those of us who are very successful in this business do a lot of follow-up. Put little tickers in our calendars, and we get on them and we follow back up. So-and-so said they were going to pay. One thing that Michelle teaches real well is to graph the check numbers and get the check amounts. That's a locking technique. That technique locks the person in so that they know what you know. Okay? So the key there is you ask for, can you give me the check number? Would you mind? I'll check our accounting system to see if we got it. Those types of techniques. Now realize when you're making collection calls, you have to use lots of different techniques. You have to decide when is the time to push, when is the time to pull, when do I need to be a nice guy, when do I need to be a hard ass. What technique is going to work to that individual tenant? Now the ones that you chase, I can tell you, chasing is no fun. So when you finally get a hold of them, you need to be pretty sharp. You need to be right to the point. I also recommend that every time you make a collection call, that you're able to quote to them the date and the amount of the last payment. Because you realize a lot of times they're going to say, I just paid. Okay, and here again, as you anticipate what they're going to say, the date and the amount of the last payment, critical. And some of those who are always paying towards the end of the month, you might want to even walk them through how it was applied. Now here's another concept that I want to make sure that you get, and it's the way I look at this. So I want to share this with you. I want you to understand that your portfolio is your business. It's the business you run. So much like your retailer that you're working with, they have a business that they run. You have one that you run. You are the owner operator of that portfolio, of that inventory. You manage the inventory, the staff, and you actually accept the problems too. So if I look at your portfolio as a whole and you have problems, those are your problems. Okay? Now I'm willing to share them with you, believe me. And I'm willing to give you some advice, help you, follow up, guidance, or even take the problem on myself. But realize you have to look at your portfolio at the end of each day as how your business is running. Now we're making strides. We're getting a lot of things cleaned up. A lot of very positive things are happening. So I don't want you to think for a second that I'm harping. Instead, I'm trying to educate. And that's the kind of tone that I want you to understand oftentimes when you're making a call. You don't have to harp on somebody. You have to make sure that they understand that you're going to hold them accountable. Much like I'm working hard to hold you accountable. And you should hold me accountable. Okay? Guys, and gals, we are getting better. And you can see as our numbers get better. I'm going to tell you probably in the next week where our numbers came out for June. And we're going to compare them versus April and May. Okay? And likewise, July is a tough month to collect rent. Okay? Why? Vacations. Slippery. People are running like crazy from here to there. Paying rent's pretty low on their side. Another thing that's been kind of bothering me that I'm working on my own little project here is to try to get Lori and I to work on and with you on large regionals and major tenants. You know, I've said a number of times on our calls that those are the expectations that our clients should have, that those things should be at zeros. So the Publix and Krogers of the world, we dominate that category of shopping centers. We have great relationships up and down within Publix and Kroger and Harris Teeter and so forth. We need to leverage those things. It's almost an embarrassment if you have a Pets or a Staples. I mean, we know the top people at every one of these organizations. Now, I know the top guy doesn't write the checks, but he can get us to the right people, and that's what I'm after. Lastly, make sure that you hear me loud and clear that I'm thankful for your efforts, grateful for how hard you're working, grateful for the focus, grateful for the fact that you guys are learning stuff, trying new techniques, reinventing things. We're getting better, and that's all I'm after. Have a great holiday weekend. Enjoy your family. Be thankful. Raise a glass. I'm thankful for you, and I appreciate your effort. To be the best, we got to keep getting better. Thank you for your effort.